Alrighty, here we go. My name is Travis. This is the Travis Novel Podcast. I wrote this book called The Jossman Method. You can get it every damn where. And here's a little mini piece of paper that looks kind of like my new book, which is called Ideal Man, Reviving Masculinity. That is in the hands of the publisher. All the edits are done at this point. They're formatting it and getting it ready to send it out to every damn place. Excited as heck about that. I've sent out a few small batches of emails to different school districts with a presentation about how, hey, I can come in. Hey, I wrote this book about masculinity. I used to be a teacher. I can come in and help you help boys be more successful. I mean, that's certainly right where my interests cross, and it's a thing I can do to help. So I'm hoping that goes well. It's only been 2 days, and I know everybody's just getting back from Christmas break. We'll see how it goes. I'll keep you guys posted, but certainly a goal of mine. I took a kind of risk and posted some quick videos of the remodeling I'm doing on the back room of my house, and to see if those would be of interest to people. I talk all the time about, what masculinity is, right? And how to get better at being a dude. And, like in the first book, there's specific chapters. One of them is doing home remodeling or doing, home projects. And I don't really, at the very beginning, I was posting stuff that I was doing, but I mean, there's no videos of me working out. I mean, I got a couple shots of me after a run talking, but maybe that's a thing I should do more. And I've had a lot of feedback from people that I trust saying, hey man, you need to have some shots of you doing the shit you talk about. You can't just talk about it, you got to do it. So I'm going to try to do some of that. I've got a nice camera set up that I've been using. I thought maybe I could, get the obligatory workout videos in and cut something together and see what that looks like. But that's how we're moving the business forward at this point. Little things here and there, making mistakes as I go. And seeing how it goes. But today what I want to talk about with you guys is it's actually one of the chapters from the new book. It's one that, there are 18 different personality traits that we're shooting for in the new book. And, I think like 4 of them, I put them out on Medium, which is it's like a forum where you can go post your writing and get feedback on it. And so one of those is the chapter on being accountable. And that's chapter 4. You can see right there. They're actually in order on the cover. Anyway, I wanted to, and this is almost exactly what you're going to find in the book. Granted, it's me talking about it. I'm not just going to read the damn thing to you, but I'll go over the basic ideas in this chapter and talk about how that applies. I would tell you that there's a massive lack in accountability in our country right now. And I would tell you that also accountability is almost exclusively the domain of men. It's always been that way. That's a part of our upbringing. That's the ability to say, yep, I fucked that up. That's a masculine thing. And far too many adult males cannot do that right now and won't do that. I would tell you that for women, that's just kind of not a part of their makeup. It's not a thing you're going to see. And I don't mean that as a shot. It just is what it is. And their strengths lie in other areas, right? But in this case, when it comes to me being accountable, to be able to say, hey, that was a mistake of mine. And again, that's step 1. There's 2 halves to it. To be accountable, truly accountable for your life, it really, you can kind of almost exactly interchange it with the word ownership. So if you want to own your life, if you want to be accountable for your life, the hardest part for most people is to own your mistakes, to admit, hey, I fucked this up and I don't want it to, I wish I'd have done it differently. And what it takes to be able to do that certainly is a lot of confidence. You're going to have to be fairly confident in yourself to be able to admit that there's something wrong with you. And what stops people in most cases from saying that is a lack of confidence, because they're afraid that once they admit, I screwed this thing up, then they're admitting there's something wrong with them. And that's just not the case. We're dynamic, multifaceted creatures as humans, right? We do a lot of things. We're involved in a lot of things. Just think about your day, for example. Like, you get up in the morning, you probably have some sort of interaction with your significant other. You have lots of different things that you're responsible for during that morning. getting up on time, getting yourself clean, getting some food in you, getting dressed, getting in the vehicle, driving to work. Like there's all these different parts of just your morning. Any one little facet of them could go wrong. You could have accidentally, you weren't looking and you cut somebody off on the highway. That doesn't mean you're a bad person. That just means that one little part of one little section of your one morning for one day didn't go well. It just doesn't make sense. I get why it happens, but it doesn't make sense that this one mistake extrapolates out and now you beat yourself up for everything you've ever done and you think you're a bad person. And some people work that way, you know what I mean? I would tell you that this philosophy will help you. And I just posted something about this on Instagram, that you are the only one, and I say it much more eloquently, like I took some time and wrote it out, but you are the only one who knows all of your mistakes. Like even your spouse doesn't know everything you've done wrong, okay? You're the only one who knows that, because you're the only one who's there every place that you are, right? You're the only one who's in the car with you on the way to work. So you're the only one who knows what came out of your mouth when somebody cut you off. Nobody else knows that. And so you can catalog that shit. And tempting is the wrong word, but it's easy to have just a Rolodex of mistakes that you made for the day right there at your fingertips with all the mistakes that you made. Okay, now you're the only one who knows all those things. Now that's bad because it's your opinion of yourself that's the most important. Okay, it's bad, but it's good because, well, it kind of gives you some deniability, I suppose is the wrong word, but more like grace, I guess, in the eyes of others. Because all of those things, when it comes to being a good person or being a bad person, I mean, this is relative as shit. And relative means when compared to something else, right? So you're only a good person when compared to somebody who's bad. Like, it depends who you're comparing yourself to. I mean, if you compare yourself to Jeffrey Dahmer, well, you're a pretty good person. You compare yourself to Mother Teresa, you're a fucking asshole. You know what I mean? So you could be doing exactly the same shit, but when you compare yourself to somebody on the outside, you see what I mean? All of a sudden you could look bad in comparison. That's why Jordan Peterson talks all the time about, don't worry about the shit that's going on outside of you. Make your own boat stronger. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today, right? Because getting that incremental improvement is how, the incremental improvement, that's how you get better. And I know I'm kind of bouncing around here, but the good side of not knowing, of only no one else knowing all your mistakes is, like I said, that they will give you grace. They don't know all the things that you've done, but there's a dynamic there that you have to be aware of as well. You don't know all the bad things someone else is doing. Okay, you don't know that. You weren't in the car with them on their way to work, right? You don't know, if they littered. You don't know. I mean, all these little things, they add up. You build them up. You add them into your head, and you start building this negative opinion of yourself. You can go down that spiral, and it doesn't go well. But here's the thing: it's only in your head, right? It's only on you, because everybody else is concerned with their failures and their mistakes. That's what they're thinking about, and they so rarely think about you. You believe that you're on the stage all the time and everybody's always looking at you, and they're not. They're too concerned with their own shit. I mean, that's how life goes. I heard this quote. Is a guy in his 60s, and he said, when I was 20, I cared way too much about what everybody else thought. Like, that's the only thing that mattered to me is what everybody else thought. When I was 40, he said, I didn't give a shit anymore what anybody else thought. He said, now I'm 60 and I realize nobody was even fucking looking at me the whole time. And I'm not there yet. I'm hoping I'll obviously live long enough to get there, but that's the point. That's the wisdom that you get after some time of going through all that shit. I mean, if they are looking at you, they're kind of dicks. Like, they should be making their own boat stronger, right? And that's what you should be doing. I mean, making yourself stronger. And the best way to do that, I'm firmly convinced, is to be accountable, to own your life. And the best way to improve, the best way to own that, the best way to do that is to admit your mistakes. Hey, I screwed this up. Because if you do that, if you say, hey, you know what? I did cut that guy off and I didn't look. don't beat the shit out of yourself about it, but remember that, hey, that didn't feel good. I didn't like that when I did that. And that's all that matters. It doesn't matter what that person in that other car thinks. I don't care if they flip you off and they lay on the horn, all this bullshit. That really doesn't matter. What matters is how you feel. And if you cut that guy off and you felt like shit about it, well, then that's there for a reason. That's to teach you not to do that again. I mean, that's how the fucking world works. You know, when you do things right, good things happen. When you do things wrong, you feel bad or you have repercussions, and then you don't do that shit anymore. That's your job as a parent, right? Is to kind of manufacture that for your kids. Give them the negative repercussions, give them the positives. Guide them down that road by having walls for them to bounce off of. Oh, this is bad, bounce back the other way. This is real good, head this direction, right? You are like a surrogate world for your kids, right? You're teaching them, you should be giving them ideas about, hey, this is how the world's going to be. And maybe you don't say those words, but you get them in some habits that work that way, right? So you as an adult, it's your responsibility, even though there's no parent there telling you, well, this is bad, you can't do that. Well, you need to learn that on your own. You've got to figure that out. You've got to be able to say, I made this mistake. And I don't think I'm perfect at any of this shit. Matter of fact, one of the first things I talk about in the new book is that you're never perfect at anything. You're always improving, but it's the improvement that matters. It's being better today than you were yesterday, right? That's all that matters. But with regard to accountability, can I look at myself and go, I'm doing this right? Well, I suppose so. I mean, of the things that I'm aware of that I messed up, I own them. I mean, I got arrested for pot possession, almost 10 years ago. Shit, we're almost at 10 years ago. I did that. I was there. I had the pot. Doesn't matter what the neighbor did. Doesn't matter about the police. Doesn't matter about the school district. None of that shit. I had the pot in my house. Did a thing that was illegal. I got caught. I went to jail. As a result, I was all over the news, and it didn't go well. I paid a stiff price for that. I really did. What I learned from that is don't do illegal shit. I mean, fuck. What else is there to take away from that? I mean, if I were to blame that on somebody else and just say it was bad luck or, again, put that on somebody else, how can I improve? I can't improve from that. And when I look at another thing that was in the news, the football thing where I got blown up for talking about that kid on here. Yeah, I fucked that up. I said a bunch of shit I shouldn't have said. I mean, yeah, again, none of it was false. I didn't lie. But just because it's true doesn't mean you have to say it. And we talked about that before. Right? So am I accountable for my mistakes? I think so. I realized over the last 2 months here that, since I have been done working outside, I've been sleeping way too late. And I'm staying up too late. And it's a fucking bad rotation. So I started setting an alarm. It's not going to take very long, and I'll be back on track where I am. So hey, I messed that up. I slipped. I started getting decadent, I guess. Doing some things. Anyway, it wasn't helping me. I wasn't being productive. So I made some changes. Am I accountable? Yeah, I think so. I mean, for the most part. Yeah. So more on accountability. There's this, we'll go back to your kids. How often do you hear from your kids, you hear, he started it. Something's going on, and you're like, hey, stop that. And one of the kids says, he started it. You know what I mean? How often do you hear that? You hear it a lot. That's the answer, right? Yeah, and what do you say? What do you say to that kid? You say, well, I don't care what he did. You can only control what you do. And I'm only concerned with what you did. I'm not concerned with what they did. I'm concerned with how you responded to it, right? Now, that's a very complex thing for a kid. Like, it's difficult for them to make distinguish between, getting punched and feeling pain. You know what I mean? It's all one thing to them. So when a kid is, there's some kind of a inflammatory situation and one kid is, instigating the other one, regardless, they can't see that, hey, that's what's going on over there is them, and that's separate from me. That's a thing a kid can't do. But you as a parent, it's your job to start getting them in the habit of thinking that way. And that's how you do it, right? So you hear it all the time. Oh, he started it. And there's a standard response there like we talked about. It's not uncommon. Happens all the time. I would tell you, sadly, too often that doesn't end in adulthood. And we're getting into this accountability thing here. The idea that I will blame what happened outside of me for things that I did, it's fucking unacceptable. I mean, if you are falling into that trap, you will never be happy. You'll never be happy. And let me back up a minute and tell you this. Here's why. Until you can own or be accountable for your mistakes, until you can do that, then you cannot own and be accountable for the things that you do that go well. So, yeah, you can't. So you go back to you're driving to work. Until you can say, yeah, I should have looked. I should have seen that guy coming, and I shouldn't have cut him off. Until you can do that, then you can't take responsibility. You can't take ownership. You can't take pleasure in the fact that you got up when the alarm went off and you didn't hit the snooze bar. That's a thing that you did, and you did that right, and that's completely on you. You can't take responsibility for you packed a very healthy lunch this morning, and that's a good thing. You can't take responsibility for taking a moment to have a quick conversation with your partner on your way out the door and show them some love. You can't take ownership for that if the highway situation wasn't also on you. You've got to own all of it if you're going to own any of it. Okay? Either the whole world is responsible for all of your shit, which means none of it's on you. Either you believe in and I'm probably going to fuck this up because I don't know much about, I've studied religion, but I'm not a religious guy. Either you're going to say, hey, God's plan, like, this is how it was supposed to go. I was meant to be doing this, or I was supposed to be here. Either you're going to do that and say it's all completely up to someone else, or you're going to say, no, I worked for that shit. I worked my ass off to get where I am. Everything I have, I earned it, right? Even the bad shit. Every one of these scars on my body, I did that. I fucked that up. I made a decision that didn't go well, or I made several decisions before that I can see led to this, right? It's you. You run your life, right? Until you can own your mistakes, you can't own your victories, okay? Until you can own your losses, you can't own your victories. So back to the he started it bullshit. There's this word, right? And I put it in the book. I put in the definition of the word trigger, which for all practical purposes, it's got several definitions, but the two that I'm going to focus on is the first one is a noun, and I'm going to read it to you. It's a gun part. It's a part of a gun that causes the gun to fire when pressed. Let's focus on that. Causes the gun to fire when pressed. Okay? When pressed, it causes the gun to fire. That's trigger as a noun. Trigger, sadly, has become a verb now. Let's see. Something that causes someone to feel upset and frightened because they are made to remember something bad that has happened in the past. Let me read that one more time. Something that causes someone to feel upset and frightened because they are made to remember something bad that has happened in the past. Now, can I concede? In the first one, let's go back to the noun. Someone has to do something to that trigger for it to do anything. Okay? You have to pull that trigger, or otherwise it's just an inanimate object. It's just fucking sitting there. It's not doing anything. Guarantee you, your guns will not get up, walk across the room, and shoot somebody without you being attached to it or someone else, right? It's an inanimate thing. A trigger is, in that case, you own that. Trigger doesn't do shit without me. I have accountability for that trigger. In the second one, in the verb, something that causes someone to feel upset and frightened because they are made to remember something bad that has happened in the past. We're getting dangerously close to complete deletion of onus, where the trigger pulls itself, all right? Causes someone to feel upset and frightened, okay? This thing causes someone to feel upset and frightened. Now, I'll be the first to tell you that you will feel feelings in your life. You will have emotions. And that's completely normal and it's completely real, okay? But it is completely fucking up to you what you do with them, all right? If you are reactionary and you freak out, you get angry, you get in a fight, you yell at somebody because you were triggered, that is some fucking childish bullshit. All right? Childish. I was triggered. You know what that is? That's He started it. That's what that is. That's the same shit. It's the same fucking shit. You're being a little kid. Grow the fuck up. All right, even and still when we look at this second definition, something that causes someone to feel upset and frightened because they are made to remember something bad that has happened in the past. Does it say anything in there about something that caused you to do dumb shit because you were frightened or upset? No, it's still. But we're halfway there. We're fucking halfway there. We're halfway from it's just an inanimate gun part to, oh, it will cause you to be upset. You don't have a choice. Like, it's just going to happen. No, that's not fucking true. You got fucking... Have some accountability here. Yeah, a bad thing happened in your past. Welcome to fucking humanity. That happens to all of us, all right? I've been to jail. I've been divorced. I've had a lot of bad things in my life. But I've also had a lot of good things, okay? Now, I could be triggered by fucking, I don't know, police. I could, there's tons of things that could make me upset. Or I could say, you know what? That was one isolated experience. Every other experience I've had with police have been good, has been positive. Every time they've showed up and something bad happened to me, it's because I fucking did something stupid. Every single time. That's how that goes. No one has ever picked on me. As far as the police, right? You have to be able to control what's going on in your mind. You might feel some initial waves of whatever, panic or upset or frightenedness. It's still on you to control that shit. And for fuck's sake, what you do as a result of those feelings, you can never put that on anyone else. He started it. Okay? That's you not taking any ownership for your fucking life. That's absolute fucking bullshit. I got a quote in there that says, it's from Teddy Roosevelt. I love that guy. He says, if you could kick the person in the pants responsible for most of your trouble, you wouldn't sit for a month. It's fucking true. I wouldn't even tell you it's most of your trouble. I'd tell you it's pretty much all of it. Because even if it was someone else you're choosing to have them in your life. You got a bad boss? Fuck, there's lots of jobs out there. Last time I checked, there were 10 million open jobs right now in the U.S. 10 million. Or you could start a business. The bottom line is this. You don't move because whatever the factors are. You're uncomfortable with change. You like the routine. You don't want to have to go through the hassle looking for a new job. You don't want to update your resume. You're comfortable. That's why you don't leave your job when you have a shit boss. You are choosing comfortable every day. Comfortable with this asshole. You're choosing that over a potentially new and excellent situation. See, it's just you're afraid of short-term discomfort to get to a much better world. That's what's in the way of most people being happy. They are afraid of short-term discomfort, even when they pretty much know it's going to mean long-term happiness. Most people don't have the wherewithal to do that, and it's because of this accountability piece. It's not my fault. He's an asshole. This job would be great without him, blah, 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 blah. You're complaining about it instead of fucking doing something about it. That's how that goes. I don't know. Teddy Roosevelt, great fucking dude. Like, I'll tell you, if he were president right now, holy fuck. On a side note with him, he was known as the trust buster. Okay, the time that he was president, and that's like 1903 to 06 or something like that, like in the O's, right? It was 115 years ago. That's when the robber barons were around. Your Rothschilds and fucking Rockefellers and these big names, J.P. Morgan, these people who there were like 4 people that owned all the fucking wealth in the country. I mean, there was one company that owned every single railroad, which was basically the highways in the entire country. It was one company owned them all. And so Teddy's like, fuck, we can't have one person have all this power who isn't an elected official. So we got to break this up. So he was breaking up these trusts. He was breaking up these monopolies, and he set up all these anti-monopoly laws. And if we had that today, if we had somebody who could step up and do that shit, I mean, it would at least help here. Like Jack Donovan talks a lot about globalism and how that's definitely a cause of ill right now in the whole world. And I don't know enough about that yet to talk about it intelligently. But I can tell you that here, Big Pharma, that fucking shit needs to get busted up. Big Tech needs to get busted up. I mean, we need to get back to where it's competitive, where things are competitive. Competition brings down prices, it brings up quality because you're trying to beat the next guy. Competition is good. When you have a monopoly, when you have a fucking Pfizer or a Merck or a Johnson & Johnson, they're such fat cats they don't even compete with each other anymore. You got to break it up. It's got to be smaller companies competing. If we had Teddy Roosevelt around right now, that's what he would do. He would do that. He would break shit up. He would. Let me get this back over here. That's where we want to be. Yep, that was cutting in there. There we go. Right back where I started. Anyway, that'd be nice if we had somebody who had the balls to do that, to just step up and say, fuck party lines. This is what's best for the country, and I'm going to do it. You know? So, back to the accountability stuff. You want to know what that looks like? Look at your finances. All right? I mean, that's a thing you can't blame on anyone else, right? I mean, there's no real room to do that. Anybody who can spend your money, you gave them access to it. So that's on you. But chances are it's your money and it's just you that's dealing with it. And so whatever money is in the bank is because you put it there. Whatever money has been spent is because you spent it. You can't blame that on anyone else. You've got to take accountability for that, right? You made the account, you got the job, you got the raise or you didn't get the raise or promotion, that's completely on you. That's clear accountability. How you would blame your finances on someone else. If you're doing that, you know you're fucking wrong. I mean, you're wrong all the time, but that one for sure. Also, and that also is a great way to gauge your comfort level. What are you okay with? Because that's what your finances are. You must be okay with that because that's what it is. If you wanted it different, you'd change it. Right? I would tell you that, take your shirt off. Go stand in front of the mirror. See what you look like. That your body is an absolute reflection of your habits. Okay? You've got to take accountability for that. I don't want to hear about, well, I've been traveling a lot, or nobody fucking shoved that food into your mouth. Nobody made you not go to the gym. Like, everything about your body, that's you. 100% you. So you have to take accountability there, right? You have to. Nobody put a funnel in your mouth and started pouring Miller High Life down there, although that sounds pretty good. I'm taking January off of drinking, and I mean, it's only been a week at this point. Actually, I started earlier in December. I think I'm at a week right now. I mean, I'm not fucking getting the shakes or anything, but like last night, I had a great day yesterday. I got so many things done, and I got way ahead on some stuff, and I'm like, fuck, man, I just want to go have a beer. It's Monday night. I'm going to go watch the football game up at the bar at the corner. I'm like, nope. Because there's no way. That split second between her asking what I want and me ordering it, I don't know if I can conquer that quite yet. I really want to go a month, see how sharp I am, see what happens to my body. And I don't know if I'll be able to say, oh, just give me a Coke and sit there and watch a fucking game. And even then, the sugar is not going to help me either. So anyway, my point is a little tougher. But I had to take some accountability for that. Over the summers, you guys know I was on the road a lot, and I told you I gained some weight. And I didn't get it off as quickly as I wanted to. Also on me, completely my fault. Not fault, but I own that. But here in this month of January, it should be easy. Stuff will fall off me like crazy because I never miss workouts. But occasionally I eat too much, eat too late, stuff like that. Anyway, so that's you looking in the mirror, being accountable for how your body looks. That's completely on you. Can't blame that on anybody else. Now, there are some accountability things that, I don't know how I preface this, but I'm not a big fan of, in a job situation, in an employment situation, especially a professional situation, to have one person's job only be to oversee, to manage, right? Like, if you're going to manage, you need to also be doing. Like when I'm working for one of my clients, they just call them foremen. The guys they're concrete foremen, guys who work in the field doing concrete. But as a foreman, they also they're responsible in the end for what the job looks like, okay, how it turns out. Now, they're just another hand for most of the day. They're working, but in the end, they're the ones who make sure everything is right and present it to the boss or whatever they do with it. So there will be a person who is a foreman, but that's not all they do. They're not just standing there looking at guys and trying to drive them. The reason I don't like that is because it also deletes accountability, right? And it deletes accountability for the whole crew. So you got this one guy, his only job is to hold everybody accountable, right? Which guarantees that none of those guys are going to develop their own internal sense of accountability. It means that you kind of have to expect at that point that every time you turn their back, they're going to start fucking off. Now, if you have guys like that on your crew, if you think that's a possibility, get other guys, right? Those aren't the guys that you want. What you want in a field foreman should be a guy who is there for questions. If you got a new guy comes up to you, hey man, I'm not sure how to do this one thing. I'm running this curb machine and I'm not sure how to finish this edge. And to be all right, cool, let me help you. And show him how to do it, teach him, give knowledge, and then he goes back to his job. Maybe you watch the guy do it once. Yep, that looks good. Keep doing it just like that. He goes back to working. The new guy learned something, got better. That's what you want in a field foreman, all right? Somebody who can teach and empower and push guys up rather than only existing to be punitive and holding people down. Because like I said, it creates a mindset in the people on your team. So if you, no matter what your profession is, if you look around, like I think back when I was a teacher, I only had one principal who was like that, super punitive, and was a gotcha guy, trying to catch you screwing up. And what that, I watched how that staff operated. Everybody was just like, fuck this guy. And we're going to do exactly what it takes to get by and not get hassled. Nothing more. There were a few of us who tried to still be real good regardless, but unfortunately he was always looking for you. He's always trying to find you making a mistake, and because he felt like if he could catch people fucking up, then he was doing his job well. He could go to his boss, go to the superintendent and say, oh, I fixed these things this week. Here's the thing. It's like a cop, right? Like if you're not writing tickets, why are you out there, right? Now, nothing against cops. I understand that, sadly, because there are so many people and so few cops in relation to them, that all they can do is be reactionary, right? I mean, I've been pulled over for speeding once out of every 500,000 times I've done it. That's probably accurate. Once out of every 500,000 times I've sped, I've been pulled over for it, maybe, right? So there just aren't that many cops out there, and they don't have the time to teach you, hey man, here's why you need to do it right. There just aren't enough of them. You'd need a cop every half a mile on every road in the country to catch everybody all the time, right? So they have to be reactionary. But in an employment situation, it doesn't have to be that way. It needs to be more prescriptive, moving people forwards, again, so they can develop their own sense of accountability, right? The idea that, hey, I want to be good at this. Anyway, accountability. Got a couple of tests. Number one, methods for building the habit of accountability. Number one, find a mirror. Tell it your mistakes. Okay, that's step one. You've got to be able to get past what you fucked up. You got to be able to say, yep, I made that mistake. And then the next step, of course, is going, I learned this, and so I'll do it differently the next time. Methods for building accountability. Number two, be honest. How often do you just tweak a little bit of what you say when you talk to people because you don't want them to know about all those bad things that you've done? Because you know what they all are. How often do you just tweak just a little bit so they don't know about that guy that you cut off on the way to work this morning? How was your morning? Oh, it's good, man. I did blah, 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 blah. And you just leave that out. And that's okay. Not that you don't want to have a conversation about all your mistakes all the time. I don't think that's a wise thing. But be honest with yourself about it. You can say, I had a pretty good day, but, I fucked up this thing in the morning. This is you talking to yourself. I fucked up this thing this morning. I didn't look. I wasn't paying attention, and I won't do that again. And I'm glad that happened, because maybe the next time I might get in a car accident, and I didn't today. So that was a good thing. That's how being honest looks when you're being accountable. And then, number three, method for building accountability. Go right back to that same mirror and tell it your victories. Here's what I did well. Here's what I was successful at. I'm very happy with this. Hey, this went well. The next day, so that was a Tuesday, you cut that guy off. On Wednesday, you know what? I drove to work today. I paid attention the whole way. I had no problems. Fuck yeah, I learned from my shit. I learned from fucking up yesterday. Hell yeah. Own your life. All right? That's accountability. My name is Travis Neville. This is the Travis Neville Podcast. I hope that something I said today helped you in some way to get your shit together. Have a great week.